Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined now by United States Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Good morning, Senator, and Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Good morning, Hugh. Merry Christmas to you and yours and your listeners. It is the most wonderful time of the year, as Andy Williams said, and I got ready for the season by going back and listening to the famous and fantastic Mark D. Roberts podcast with you from, 15 years ago?
Oh, my goodness, yes, the Christmas Carol podcast.
Yeah. So I assume you'll be playing that again on Friday, but I wanted to get a head start.
Well, thank you. Well, Senator, I want to talk to you about these negotiations underway, because I've been doing this show for 23 years, and you've been in the Senate for, 14? 8? 10?
Not quite. It only seems that long. I think I just finished my 9th year. If you were about to.
Okay, so maybe you were only around for 2 failed attempts at so-called comprehensive immigration reform, but I remember 3 of them: the McCain-Graham, the Kyle-Graham, and the Rubio-Graham, and now we got number 4 coming in the big supplemental. If it doesn't finish the wall, it will not pass. Do your colleagues in the conference understand that?
Well, Hugh, I was there from 2013 as a representative for the Gang of 8 bill, and I helped stop that bill, which was a very bad bill. It followed the failed patterns you had cited in the past of so-called comprehensive immigration reform, which is to give away legal status to illegal immigrants in the country and expand illegal immigration in return for promises of future enforcement and future construction of a wall, which never seemed to materialize. It's important to note that negotiations happening right now are not about some kind of massive comprehensive bill. It's not about border security, for instance, in return for democratic immigration priorities like amnesty or legal status for so-called dreamers. It is about securing our border if we're going to help Ukraine protect its own borders. That's what the negotiation is about. So I'm not going to support legislation that does not stop or at least substantially reduce the flow of illegal immigrants into this country that Joe Biden has unleashed. I mean, Hugh, I just got the numbers in for yesterday. It was a new record yet again.
Oh, gosh.
12,000 migrants crossed the border yesterday. That's not the first time in the last couple of weeks where 12,000 migrants have crossed the border. I mean, just think about that. In just a span of a week, you'd add the same number of people that we have living in Fort Smith, Arkansas, to our country. In a year, at that rate, you would add almost 4 million people, which is not just like adding the state of Arkansas, but, say, throwing in New Hampshire on top of it. So any legislation that we have is going to have to stop or substantially reduce the flow of migration in this country that Joe Biden has unleashed. I think it can, because it will send a signal to people coming, not just from, say, Mexico and Guatemala, but from Africa and Asia and all parts of the world, because they know they can get in. Like, hey, if you go to the American border, you don't get in. You're going to have to sit in Mexico. That alone will have a huge deterrent effect.
Now, Senator, I don't believe that the House will support any package that does not finish the wall, and it's between 700 and 800 miles of a very sturdy and continually upgraded and repaired barrier, because that is the visible expression of the invisible commitment. I haven't seen it in any of the detail. I know there's other good stuff in there, like remain in Mexico. Is the wall on the table? Because if it isn't, I don't think the Republicans should agree to this.
So, Hugh, there's negotiations underway that include some border wall construction. And I agree with you that a wall just sits there and works. It is the visible expression of an invisible will. And, you don't have to worry about future bureaucrats or presidents defunding it or going on strike or kids calling in sick or anything like that. However, we have a crisis right now to address, and we're not going to build a wall between now and the end of next year across all 2,000 miles of our border, or even substantial parts of it. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, migrants aren't trying to go over the wall. They're not trying to cut holes through the wall. They're going to ports of entry, and they're using a few magic words that the Biden administration and left-wing nonprofits have coached them to use to take advantage of things like our asylum system or to benefit from Joe Biden's lawless expansion of parole. So while I agree that we need to build the wall and we need to complete the wall, hopefully under the next Republican president, right now, asylum and parole are the 2 key reasons you've seen this unprecedented flood of migrants to our border.
And I think that needs to get fixed. But I sat down with one of your colleagues who I like a great deal when the last sort of nascent effort was underway last year. And I was very blunt with this, Senator, and I said, I will never support any deal that doesn't finish the 800 miles. The funding and the commitment and the timetable, it's got to get done. And don't ask me. I'm a wet, right? They call me, I'm a liberal. Let a lot of people stay. But until they do that, I don't think anything else works, Tom. Senator, because I just think people recognize we're not serious. Finland's building a border wall. Israel has a border wall. Egypt has a wall in Gaza because they work.
Yeah, of course. Walls have worked for as long as human beings have lived in organized societies. And the Democrats once supported it. You know, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton all supported it 17 years ago. But it's become anathema in their party, of course, because Donald Trump proposed it. And their reflexive instinct is to oppose anything that Donald Trump did. But as you say, many other countries have walls or are building walls. And we should do what you say. We should finish construction of our wall. We should also make sure that it's properly manned and equipped so people can't break through it or go over it. But that won't be enough. Even if we build the entire wall, it won't be enough to stop the flow we see today because so much of that flow is happening at legal points of entry. People are coming and abusing our asylum laws or abusing Joe Biden's use of the parole system.
It's necessary but not sufficient. The other parts are enough facilities to house people and fine them and hold them until their trials can be held, and enough immigration judges and expedited rules. Is that all going to be in there? Because if there isn't, no one should agree to this. I mean, Joe Biden created a nightmare. Why would we fix it for him unless we actually fix it?
So Hugh, some will be in there. But again, I'd caution about the capacity. If you have 12,000 migrants coming a day, you simply cannot build enough detention facilities with enough beds and have enough immigration judges to hear their cases quickly, to adjudicate them and turn them back. What you have to do is turn off that flow of migrants. It's one thing to have more Border Patrol agents and have more detention beds when you have a few hundred migrants showing up at our border every day. It's a whole other thing to have it when there's 12,000 a day. So the main goal that we have in trying to secure our border is to turn off that flow of migration. And it works. When you send a signal that you're not going to get in, people will stop coming. You saw this, for instance, immediately after the 2016 election, even before Donald Trump took office, the number of illegal crossings fell dramatically because people believed that Donald Trump was going to totally shut down the border. Now, when that didn't happen immediately in 2017, those started inching back up. But word gets out very rapidly across the world whenever you can get into the American border or you can't. I mean, people get here, they get way through, they immediately start sending text messages or DMs back to their friends and family in the home country. Hey, I got in, you can too, everyone come. Or, hey, I'm stuck in Mexico for the next 8 months. Don't spend $8,000 of your life savings to pay some cartel to traffic you all across Latin America.
So, Senator, is Senator Lankford, friend of the show, treating you as a must-have vote? Because I'm going to boil this down to, if Senator Cotton is opposed to this bill, I am not going to be in favor of it. And I might not be in favor of it even if he is in favor of it if the wall isn't in there. But are they treating you as sort of the signal for serious border conservatives?
Well, I wouldn't want to characterize how anyone sees my vote, but Hugh, I suspect that any bill that doesn't get my vote and doesn't get probably at least half of the Republican senators' vote is not going to succeed in the House, in which case it's a fruitless exercise. We're not trying to pass a bill through the Senate. We're trying to pass a law through the Congress that will stop the flow of migrants at our border.
And is that realism in the conference? Because seriously, the Lucy and the football thing, we can't do it again because Joe Biden created this nightmare. Why would we want to own it again, as happened 3 times before?
Yeah, I think, Hugh, very much so. That sense of realism prevails among Republican senators. You may have seen the news that a handful of Republican senators asked for a conference-wide meeting when we are back in session the week of January 8th to discuss exactly where the state of negotiations that Senator Lankford is conducting with Democrats in the White House stand to see if it's something that we can support.
So there is not going to be a bill before Christmas. You're going to go home?
No, we're nowhere near having a bill before Christmas. And, I mean, I think that goes to show that we are serious about this, that Senator Lankford is not just trying to get a deal for a deal's sake. He's trying to get a deal that Republican senators can support because it stops the flow of migration. Chuck Schumer is bad at his job. He waited too long to engage in these negotiations. Then he tried to bring senators back to jam a vote up against the Christmas holiday. That obviously is not working. So I imagine we're going to have a few more votes on nominees this week, and then we'll break for the Christmas holiday.
A last quick question for you, Senator. When are we going to shoot back at the Houthis? Because they're going to keep shooting. I don't care how many ships we've got out there. Until we shoot back, they're going to keep shooting.
Well, it's 2 months overdue, Hugh. I mean, a ragtag rebel band in Yemen has now basically shut down shipping through the Red Sea, which accounts for, I think, 1/8 of all global commerce. And we haven't destroyed every one of their firing batteries and their ammunition storage sites. This is pathetic. All we're doing is inviting more tax on shipping and more tax on our own naval vessels, for instance. It's astonishing that Joe Biden is allowing this to happen. I mean, the main point, one of the main points of having a United States Navy patrol the high seas around the world is to ensure freedom of navigation on the high seas. So we should have shot back and destroyed the entire Houthis arsenal 2 months ago. I hope Joe Biden finally screws up his courage to do it soon. Otherwise, not only is it going to be bad for Americans in our pocketbooks and the impact of shipping worldwide, but American sailors or merchant marines are going to get killed.
Bonus question, Senator. Lloyd Austin, Jake Sullivan, Tony Blinken. It's a mixed message from the White House to Israel. Do you agree with me on that? And ought we to just clearly state we are with Israel until they have destroyed Hamas, which is my view?
Yeah, it seems like they're all trying to manage internal Democratic Party politics more than they are helping Israel win the war. I mean, remember, part of this supplemental negotiation package we're debating is $14 billion in aid to Israel. But I have to say, if I was in Israel's government, I might say, you know what, keep your $14,000 and keep out of our business. Just leave us alone and let us get on with the business of destroying Hamas.
Yeah, $14 billion is not worth losing the war. It isn't, and they're not going to take it. Senator Tom Cotton, Merry Christmas, safe travel to you and your family. We'll talk to you in the new year.